What's up, on my power ass crew? What are we doing today? Ta-da! Well, it kind of looks like we're doing brakes, doesn't it? But we're not doing just brakes. We're doing brake pads, rotor, and caliper, and soft line. I run into some snags. I'll tell you what to do to get around that, and so you might just learn something. What am I? On my head. He was crawling on my head. Mean little rascal. Anyway, back to the intro. I had a problem with this soft line coming off right here where the hard line meets the soft line. I'll show you guys what to do to get around that. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, or do you like these DIY videos to where it saves you money, shows you how to take care of your own stuff? This is the channel for you. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's do a caliper. First thing first, get that tire and wheel off. Now before I get this wheel off, I just thought of something. I want to show you guys a little something. Okay, look, we got plenty of gappage going on underneath the tire. Obviously, it should roll. Look, I am having to put the grunt to it to make this thing turn. But that's what I'm referring to by the caliper seizing up or locking up or whatever. You push the brake, and the piston inside the caliper is not going back inside the caliper to release the brake disc. So this is what you get. Super tight brakes. Now if you let it set for a little while, it'll loosen up and it'll be fine. I just got back from driving probably 5-8 miles or something like that. And so yeah, it just took that little short time for it to starting to seize up or lock up or whatever you want to call it. So that is what we're working on today. But I'm actually doing the brakes on both sides of this thing. Caliper, rotors, brake hoses, everything. Got the wheel off. Let's take a little gander, see if we can see any clues as to what's going on. You look inside here, you can see your brake pad thickness. Okay, they're definitely worn down some, but they're not gone. Right there on that piston, you see a little bit of wet spot right there. Now, what does that indicate? I don't know. It could be a couple different things. I use this stuff on my brake pads that goes on as a thin film, but whenever it dries, it's kind of like a rubber texture type stuff. It keeps the brake squeal down. It kind of puts a rubber pad between your brake pads and your caliper, and it helps keep them quiet. That may be what I'm seeing on the edge of that piston right there. Not 100% sure yet. Looking under here, you can see the thickness of the pads here. Nothing obvious yet. So what I got to do next, see where my fingers are right here? This is your brake line coming down right here. Right there, right there. Those two bolts right there's got to come out. That's what's holding the caliper to that big bracket right here. So 10 millimeter, get those two out. Give you a little clue about something. If you don't have some kind of little stool to sit on while you're working on your toys, you really should. This is separate. This right here is the tool caddy, and this right here is like a little mechanic seat. You sit on it. Got the little drawer right here. Got a pocket over here, a pocket over here. For your cordless drill, you drop it in there. Sweet, sweet little setup. Then we got the big drawer down here. You really should get you one of those. It's talking about a back saver and a knee saver instead of squatting down on the ground all the time. No, it don't want to come out of there. You got to take that one out first. Look right there, got that groove pointing to it. Which means, of course, the disc is shot, but I've got new discs going too, new rotors. Sit up there, dang it. There's that groove where that pad is eating into it. And let's see. Yeah, I mean, that disc has been hot. Yep, it's junk. Now let's talk about this caliper here for a moment. A couple things you want to check, which I'm about 99% sure I know what's going on. Sometimes these slides right here, they'll stick and won't allow the caliper to float back and forth to squeeze on the rotor correctly. These are moving freely, but I'm 99.999% sure it's all inside there. Now if you go back, after you watch this video, you need to go back and watch my brake bleeding video, and you'll see that whenever I bled the brake on this side right here, all the junk that was coming out of the caliper, I mean, it just looked like white fuzz or something coming out, I don't know. But that disc, I mean, that piston in that caliper is not wanting to go back in, and I'm not even going to try to make it go in. So what we're going to do is, I'm replacing the line all the way back to here. Why am I doing that? Here's the deal. Most cases than not, your problem lies here, okay? Whenever you got a brake seasoned up, more times than not, it's right here in this chunk here. But what sometimes happens, the soft line right here, if they're old, inside there they'll start breaking down. Now if you guys again refer back to that brake bleeding video, you see how dirty the fluid was that I got out of the system. What I did was at the brake bleeding video, I bled all my brakes, all four corners, put new fluid through the whole system before I'd start pulling the calipers off. Why did I do that? Well, there's so much junk in the old fluid that was in this right here. I mean, we're talking hydroscopic, which means there's water in it. It was brown, crusty, probably rust in it. And this junk that was coming out of this caliper right here, you can see it in the clear line in the video, that just tells me there's junk all in the fluid. So what is it you don't want to do? You put new parts on your Jeep, then you want to flush your brakes, but you're taking all that old fluid, pushing it into your brand new parts. That is the wrong way to do it. Typically what people do is they'll replace all the parts, then they'll bleed their brakes then. What you really should do is put all new fluid through your system, front, rear, all four corners, then change your parts out, because then whenever you go to bleed your brakes, after putting in your new caliper and your new soft line, you're putting new fluid through it instead of that old junk, and that old junk can get inside the piston right here and cause you issues again later on. So, as I was about to mention a moment ago, the soft line here, if they're really old, what happens on the inside of them, they start breaking down. And just say hypothetically right along in here, there's a bad place inside the hose. What happens is the fluid, you push the brake, the fluid goes this way. Goes into the caliper, pushes the piston out, squeezes your rotor to make you stop. Fluid is going this way when you need to stop. Okay, you let go of the brake pedal, the fluid has to go back this way. What happens when it breaks down inside the hoses here, there's little flaps of rubber inside there. So fluid allows to go this way, but that fluid comes back, that breakup of rubber inside there will pop over and cause a fluid restriction. It kind of acts like a check valve. Fluid goes one way, but it won't go back. So that happens a lot whenever you got sticky calipers. The mistake a lot of people make is go ahead, I'm going to put a new caliper on, I'll be good to go. That's actually half what you should do. Actually a third of what you should do, to be honest with you. Number one, new fluid throughout the whole system. Get rid of all the old fluid. Get the junk out of your system. Number two, you want to replace the soft line, and number three, you replace the caliper. That's going to give you your best chances of not having to do this gig all over again. Okay? Yes, it costs more money up front. Yes, it's a lot more issues, but you got to think about something. Do you want to do it again? Do you want to be stuck on the side of the road? Do you want to have brake issues later on? I mean, really think about your time invested into this. So again, replace that soft line. Number one, new fluid throughout the whole system. Flush the old junk out. Whenever you replace the caliper, replace the hose with it. So what I'm about to do first, I'm going to take this line out right here, right there. Take that out. Then we'll take that Torx out, which releases the whole caliper and everything all at one time. And when I take the caliper back from a core charge, I'll just take this off the caliper, because obviously they don't need it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, my girl's being a total pain in the tail, like I expected anything different. Alright, so I did go ahead and take the caliper off right here. Why? Because this sits up inside here like this, bolts in, as we all know. and that's where your brake line gets to. Your hard line goes up to your proportion valve. Well, the darn thing would not come out. So what did I have to do? I brought it all out one piece. There's the line there. And back here, the proportion valve, right here, I got glare on my viewfinder. Right there where my finger is, this back port right here, closest to the brake booster, that is your driver's side front brake line. I had to break it loose there, pull the whole hard line out of the Jeep, fishing it all the way down through there, bring it out right here, brought it out one piece so I could get leverage on it. Where'd it go? So I could get the leverage on it to actually make the thing break loose. I put penetrating oil on it, I heated it, I did everything. I could not get to break loose until I got it out where I could really get some solid leverage on it. So just in case you guys run into that, you don't want to strip that out and booger it up too bad, because this is still usable, barely. But yeah, that's what I had to do. It would not come out. So the best way to put that line back in is to go ahead and thread your hard line into your soft line here. Do not tighten it, because you want it to be able to twist, flex, like that, to position it out here. So tuck it up underneath here, bring it up. You gotta wash the bottom of your washer bottle right here, because it'll hang on it. You just gotta get on top of it and feed it back up through here. Then screw it into the back of your proportion valve right here. And torque it back to 500 pound-feet of torque like it was. Okay, so I'm actually joking, but it was damn tight. Then get here the best you can. Fasten this down, then tighten that back up. And now we can go back on to our regular scheduled programming. So be careful when you open the package for your soft line here, because you got two washers inside there. You do not want to lose them. They are vital, because if you don't have them, you're guaranteed a leak. Okay, as you can see, I'm replacing calipers on both sides, but you actually do have a driver's side and a passenger side. So let's just say you didn't pay attention as to which one was left and which one was right. How do you know the difference? Right there is how you're going to know the difference. See your bleeder screw? It's always, always, always on top. So if you position your caliper to the rotor like so, your bleeder screw is on top, you have the right side. Now, like this. Now here, if I was to put it on there, my bleeder screw would be here on the bottom. That's wrong. What happens is whenever air floats upward, comes out this port right here to bleed out your air and stuff. So you always, 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 this stays on top. Now, I showed you guys the washers a moment ago. This kit right here, which came from O'Reilly's, came with the bolts right here, came with the washers, and new banjo bolt. And what a banjo bolt does, you see right there, that hole, it drills down this way, makes a 90-degree turn through the banjo bolt. Say banjo bolt, not thinking about deliverance, that's just weird. See, it goes through right there, and fluid passes through right there. And that's how your fluid passes from your soft line there into that hole, comes out that hole, into your caliper, pushes the piston over. So go ahead and take your banjo bolt out, take out your mountain bolts so you don't drop them. And what we're going to do is go ahead and put our brake pads on. We got to smear some orange slime on it. Now, what is that orange slime? It's this stuff right here called Disc Brake Quiet. Now what it does, it goes on kind of as a film, kind of about like Vaseline or so for its consistency. But what it does, it dries into a rubber film. You take your brake pads here and you put them on there, and when it dries, it kind of forms an insulator, a rubber insulator between the metal and the pads. What does that do? If you was to get any kind of brake squeal or anything like that, that rubber right there kind of it cuts back on it a lot. I have seen do brake installs and not use that stuff, and you get that brake squeal and they'll tear the brakes back apart and put that stuff in, and it quieted it down. So it don't need to be a thick film. You can see that it's not very thick on there at all. Pop your pads in, install it, and get ready to install. Take this, put this one in first. If you put that on first, it's kind of a pain in the tail to get this one in. So put this one in, line those springs up, push, pop, pops right in there. This one, you got these little alignment dowels right here on each side that hit these holes here and here. So get them in the ballpark of lined up. Rock your pad back here to hook the spring on the caliper. and just work it down. Like that. See? And that one's not quite seated yet. Need one more. Which way am I going? Which way am I going? It's gotta go this way. There's that one and that one. Cool. So now we're gonna take the caliper and set it on this. Well, we'll knock that off right there if we're careful. And what you want to do is see those little notches right there, that little C notch. Set it right there on that, like here. Rotate it upward, like that. And you'll see that these little fingers bottom out on this. And that's how they set. Yes, I know I ain't put the brake line in yet because there's a reason for it. Because once you get the caliper pretty well stabilized, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put the bolts in for right now, but I'm not going to tighten them up. That gives you some leverage to be able to tighten up your brake line. So I'm just going to take these bolts right here, halfway put them in for right now. You come down here, put it in this one, monkey it around until you find it line up. Screw it in a little bit. Get this one, slide it in that mount, and what you're going to do is take this, and since down here this one's put in, the caliper now runs out of arc center line of that bolt back there. So once you get that, you arc it, push in, you feel this bolt right here catch, and you just hand tighten it for right now. Yep, okay, well, I'm out of hands, so let me get that, and I'll be back in just a moment. Look at that, that's spinning like it's supposed to. I've got one lug nut right there just to hold that disc up in place to hold the caliper centered as I put everything together. But I've got these right here, just finger tight. What we're going to do now is our soft line. And our soft line, I don't have the little copper bushings on her yet. But if you see right there, see this little flat lip? See the little flat edge on this? That is going to sit in there just like that, that flat area lined it up. And you see how it fits around your bleeder screw. So I'm going to get the banjo bolt and the little washers ready, and we'll put that in. Okay, if you look real close, you can see that I got a washer inside here, so you got a washer between the caliper and the brake line. Then at the end of the banjo bolt, you got a washer there as well. So one washer goes here, one washer goes here. Two washers, one here, one there. And then we tighten that up good. And let me show you what it does. Whenever you tighten them up, you see those little rings right here where they cut into it? That provides a method of sealing all that pressure. That's one of the old ones, obviously, so you can see how it bites into it to provide a sealing surface. Now here's why I told you only put these in fingers tight, because we're taking them back out. And I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads right here, so in the event, later on, if I have to take this apart, they're not going to be rusty, crusty up inside that bracket right there. And one thing also you want to watch too when you put these in, this thing right here slides back and forth. Sometimes you start, you get all frustrated because it won't slide in place. What you got to do is take these pins, these sliders, push it back this way to allow it to come over top of that bracket right there. And that's both on top and bottom. So if it's been a pain in the butt going on, you hook it right there on those little grooves and it rocks this way. If it doesn't want to fit in, check these things right here, top and bottom. Oftentimes they're hitting that bracket right there and don't want to go on. And also, like back in my video where I do just the brakes, where I do just brake pads and rotor, you may have to press that piston back, which you guys can refer back to the other video. Most of the time with brand new calipers, you don't have to worry about pressing the piston. But due to these things right here having those rubber boots, they will often want to push this way and get binded up on that bracket. So I'm going to take a little bit of this right here, put it on the very end of the threads so it doesn't seize up to that metal and make it easy to come out next time. And just to give you an idea how much, right there, just a little dollop. It doesn't take a whole lot running it all the way through here. It only takes just a little bit. Alright, so we lost a lot of fluid when we took that brake line off. Let's check and see what we got to do. See? Of course, we're going to have a lot of air in the system, but it didn't drain the master cylinder completely. So I'm about to fill that thing back up, and we're going to bleed these brakes out. And your little rubber gasket bellow thing right there, just simply push it down. It's supposed to fold in on itself like that right there. That's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, we have our super high-tech brake bleeding system going on here, which consists of a Gatorade bottle and a clear vinyl tubing. You press it on there. You've got the bleeder screw open just a little bit. We're going to go push the pedal and knock some air out of this thing. If you look real close, you can see some of the air purging out of it already. You can see some air purging out here. Now, you guys really need to go back and refer to my how to bleed brakes video. I got a lot more detail in it, and I show that junk from the old caliper. I bled the brakes before I put the new stuff in, and you can see from the old video, from the other video, all the junk that was rolling out of that caliper. So I'm gonna go press the brake real quick and see what kind of junk we get out of it. Okay, I've got my little magic bottle hooked up there. We're about to bleed these brakes. Push the pedal slowly. Now if the line's still attached, take your wrench and just snug it up good. Then you take your bottle, put it down below your caliper. So therefore, whenever you pull the line off, the fluid inside the vinyl tubing will run down the bottle, and there it went. Now look how clean that fluid is right there. And that's because I pre-bled, or actually flushed out my brake system before I changed my calipers out. And like I said, I'll put a link up in the corner right there or down in the description so you guys can check out that video of how nasty the brake fluid was before I pre-bled them or flushed them, or however you want to say it. So there we go. Take my 3/8 wrench, put it back on there, and on the box end right here, snug it up good. And we're good to go. We have just changed out a caliper. Now what you want to do is check all your connections. Where we're bleeding the brakes, it's going to be under pressure, because now, see, the disc doesn't spin as free because you got just a little tiny bit of drag where the pads are seated against the rotor now, as it should. So we're going to look around here with a banjo bolt. Got no leaks here. Look up here. Okay, rub my finger underneath there, around here. Got no wetness. Good. We're good there. Just remember, we had to pull that line off. Look underneath here. We look underneath here where that line, we had to take it off. We're good there. So we got no leaks. Sweet. We just got to top our fluid off a little bit. And now you just simply put your tire back on and you're good to go. So that's how you change out a brake caliper and soft line. Now I want to reiterate something. I've seen so many times, and I said this at the beginning of the video, and if I sound like I'm beating a dead horse here, fine, so be it. Fast forward through it. I don't care what you do, but I want to get a point across. I want to save you guys trouble. I want you guys to watch this video and know what you could run into and be prepared, especially those of you who are newbies to wrenching on vehicles. Oftentimes you get a stuck caliper, people change just the caliper. They don't change the soft lines. Honestly, I have seen, more times than not, it's going to be the caliper. No question about that. But I have seen calipers get changed out, and still the caliper will lock up and generate a whole crap load of heat, burn up your brand new rotors, all kinds of stuff, because they didn't change out the soft line. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes the soft lines inside the hose here, they'll break apart on the inside, and they'll act like little check valves, flapper inside there. It'll allow the fluid to go this way to apply the brakes, but it won't allow the fluid to come back and release the brakes. So change out that soft line. They're about 30 bucks a pop, but is it worth it in the end? Yes, it is, because you save yourself a lot of headache later on. And also, flush out your brakes. Flush out the brake fluid. Again, refer back to my video, and I'll put a link up in the corner, one of these two corners, and down in the description, to where I flushed the brakes on this thing before I changed out my calipers. And you will see why when you see that video. Nasty. Now I'm going to call out some things just in case, you know, whenever I was doing all this work through here, they got caught in the camera shots, and somebody's going to get on the comments and say, hey, you doing this, you doing that. Okay, there's my sway bar. Yes, it's tied up. I'm not running the sway bar at all, because there would be your quick disconnects from here to there. I tied that sway bar up over a year ago, and I ain't touched it since. So that whole thing, do you need sway bars? It's up to you. I don't need them. I'm not paranoid. And I think it drives just fine. And if you really want to get into that discussion, look underneath there. No track bar, no track bars. I don't run track bars, and I don't run sway bars. So therefore, if you want to question it, that's right. I'm not running, it's not connected. Matter of fact, I'm going to take the rascal off one of these days. Now, just in case it got caught up in the camera shots, look right there. Yep, you're right. I'm not running the front drive shaft. Why am I not running the front drive shaft? Well, because that rear differential right there come out of rust bucket, and there are two different gear ratios. The rear end on this thing, I think in my last video I said something to the effects of that rear end there being a 373 rear end. It's not, it's a 355 rear end. The 8.8 that's under rust bucket right now is a 373. So that's a 355 rear end. This is a 307 front end. You do not mix gear ratios. So just in case I have a dumb moment and decide to lock the transfer case in, I got the front drive shaft taken out so I don't blow my transfer case all to pieces. Coming here real soon, I will be swapping the whole front axles out, putting the axle out of rust bucket in this. But before I do that, I want to rebuild the axle underneath rust bucket. So whenever I put it underneath this, I know it's solid. My ball joints, I mean, they look a little crappy. Well, tie rods look really crappy. But I know this front is solid. This is my daily driver. I've been to Arkansas and back in it. I've been many places in this Jeep. I know it's solid. So I don't want to pull the front end out of the rust bucket, sticking this to find out, okay, crap, now I'm on my way to work, or I'm traveling somewhere to go hiking or whatever, and discover I got a bad ball joint on the way or something. So I want to rebuild the axle on the rust bucket. Once I get it built, it's going under this. And I'll make a video of changing out ball joints, changing out tie rod ends. And if you want me to, guys, put it down in the description. If you want me to do the video of swapping out the whole front axle, and it's just going to be nothing more, I'm going to order new U-bolts. It's going to be nothing more than pulling this one out and putting the other one in. This axle here, this Dana 30 here, will go under rust bucket, but I'm going to build it. So if you guys want to see that video, just throw it down in the description and say, yo, yeah, that sounds cool. I'd like to see that. And so, like I said, I just want to point out that no, I'm not running a sway bar. I'm not running track bars. And my front drive shaft's out because this is a 307 front. The rear is a 355 rear. And I don't want to blow my transfer case in case I have a stupid moment and decide to lock the four-wheel drive in. Because that is a no-no. You don't run front, rear different ratios. That is a major no-no. So whenever I swap the front axles out, my gearing will match, and I'll put my drive shafts back in then. So there you go. I just want to point that out before somebody calls me out. Oh, one thing I forgot to put in shot, what I was doing is that I took some brake clean, the spray brake clean, sprayed this rotor down real well, and wiped it down with a rag to get that protective film off of it, so therefore it's not getting all over your pads. I didn't catch that on the camera because I was too busy fussing cussing that brake line. And so yeah, I just want to call that out because I didn't want to leave anything out for you guys. Brake clean, spray it down, wipe it down, make sure it's good and clean. Okay, pet peeve rant alert. I do this on every single video that I've got the wheel off. One of my biggest pet peeves is seeing tire shops or even so-called mechanics or even the home mechanic or whatever. They'll take their impact there, stick the lug nut up inside the impact socket and put it up there and run it on with the impact. Do not do that. Thread it on by hand, take the socket, run it on. That spider is bound and determined to be all over me. Get up, dude, go on somewhere. Run them on by hand a few turns to ensure that you got plenty of thread engagement before you put the impact to it. And even with that, don't finalize your torque settings with the impact. Do not. These lug nuts right here, 100 pound, 100 foot-pound torque, tighten them down. But I will take an impact and I'll run them in, bump them in, then I'll take my torque wrench and torque them down proper. But I just want to say, do not put the nut upside there on the impact and put it straight onto the stud and try to run it on. Because if you cross thread those nuts and stud, imagine having a flat on the road somewhere, then you've got to try to figure out how to get that lug nut off and you're stranded. You know, a little bit of preparation up front could save you a lot of headache later down the road, okay? Always think about, if I do this, what's it going to do for me later on down the road? Keep that in mind whenever you're wrenching, okay? All right, so I'm gonna tighten him up. And just in case your new one didn't come with, be sure to pull your little rubber caps off so you can stick them on your new calipers. Therefore, it keeps your little bleeder screw all nice and clean. When you go to torque down your lug nuts, do it in a star pattern. Go here, 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 okay? Therefore, it provides even pressure against your rotor. So like I said, star pattern, don't matter where you start at. Here, 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 here. As long as it's in that star pattern, you're good to go. All right, my Power Ass crew, did you learn a little something from that video? If you did, hit me with that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, leave me some cool comments down below. All right, so I'm not going to film the other side. There's no point in it. What you do to this side, do to the other side. There's no need in filming both sides. Just make this video excessively long. Just keep in mind, when you're dealing with old brake lines like this, they're always subject to be frozen up in some shape, form, or fashion. They can be a total pain. Keep that in mind, so therefore, have a friend available with another vehicle to go get parts, or have another car available, whatever the case may be. Because if you twist a brake line in two, you're going to have to go get another one. And it's very subject to happen, so just be mindful of that, okay? Be sure to check out my other video, flushing the old brake fluid out before you change calipers. You'll save yourself a lot of headache later down the road, okay? Get that junk out of the lines before you put in new parts. You don't want to put all that corroded, nasty looking brake fluid in your brand new parts. So everyone, like I said, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, leave me some cool comments down below, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me. Peace out. Later, y'all.